I used to work at Pizza Hut when I was in high school. I have a lot of bizarre stories from working there, but this is the one that scared me the most. My Pizza Hut was the kind where you could only pick up the food, and there was also a wall between the storefront and the kitchen. So, if you were in the front of the store, you were pretty much on your own. The store itself was located in a kind of out-of-the-way dead shopping center. Oh, and it was Las Vegas, and that should tell you a lot about the level of our clients. For some reason, I always got stuck on the late shift despite being in high school, so on most weeknights by 10 at night it would just be me and the other cook in the store, twiddling our thumbs. I would hang out at the front and the cook usually was way at the back of the store, out of earshot. One night, I was hanging out behind the counter and I saw this guy walk past. I didn't think much of it and just went back to doing nothing. While waiting for my shift to end, then the door to the store opened. I look up and I realized it's the same guy who just went by. He's tall, but also like skeletally thin, and there is something just not right about his eyes. But despite him putting me on edge, I get up, greet him, and ask him what he would like to order. He said nothing. He just stands there in front of me, staring up at the ceiling and muttering to himself. I was only 17 and for the most part of a good kid, despite living in Sin City. So I didn't really know what to make of it. I would probably just chalk it up to drugs. Anyway, he's still standing there, vacant of expression and muttering in what sounds like tongues. Then he abruptly spins around and just walks back out of the store without even acknowledging that I exist. At this point, I'm unnerved, but I just shake it off and sit back down. I'm getting toward the end of my shift and I'm counting down the minutes when I realize somebody has just walked back into the store. I look up and it's the same guy, same creepy eyes, only this time he's holding up a phone to his ear. He's muttering unintelligibly. So I realized he is not talking to anyone, and worse, he's staring right at me, super intense, and I'm blinking. At this point, I'm starting to get frightened. He just keeps looking at me, and so I try to be polite and ask if I can help him. He starts walking towards the counter, still staring at me. Then suddenly he asks in a perfectly normal voice if his order is ready. I'm mentally going, what the fuck? And I'm not sure how to answer, so I go with the truth and I tentatively point out to him they didn't order anything when he was first in the store. He gets this bug-eyed look on his face and lunges towards the counter. I jump back at this point and my heart is pounding because this guy is obviously not sane. I'm also afraid that he's gonna pull out a knife or something and stab me. Then, just as abruptly as he lunged, he yells, "God damn it," and looks super confused and upset, like he's about to cry, and just puts his head in his hands and starts pulling at his hair. I start to feel slightly bad at this point, and I ask him nicely and calmly as I can if maybe he wants to order something now. His head snaps back up. His expression is now completely blank and he looks totally deranged. I'm holding totally still because I'm afraid moving will set him off. Then, thankfully, the door to the store opens and a huge man walks in. He looks at this guy kind of confused, realizing that something is not right with him. The crazy guy looks at him and looks back at me. He then starts backing up until he's at the door. He starts walking towards the edge of the storefront, looking at me the whole time. And then it just goes past the edge of the store and he's gone. The guy who walked in looks at me. That's what the hell was that? I just look back and tell him I've no idea and I think the guy was crazy. I try to shake it off, but I'm totally on edge for the rest of my shift. When I clocked out that night, I made one of the drivers walk out with me. Then I jumped into my car and just got the hell out of there. I never saw that dude again, but it was a weird experience and pretty unnerving. I'm not sure what he would have done if that guy hadn't walked in when he did. This happened a few years back when I was 12 or 13 years old. I'm from the Philippines. It was a Sunday afternoon at probably 5 or 6 o'clock, and I was at home with my dad. My mom left to buy groceries about 30 minutes ago using our one car. As I was watching videos on YouTube, the doorbell suddenly rang. It rang quite a few times until I had finally had enough of it. That's when I knew that I had to open it. Knowing that my dad was probably sleeping in the other room, I reluctantly went downstairs to open the door. The thing is, I've dreaded opening the front door for people ever since my grandpa scolded me for opening the door to the mailman for this house. He lectured me about how dangerous it could be, like I could be kidnapped or something. But that thought, I climbed on the sofa, which was 3 feet away from the front door, and pulled the curtains to see who was ringing the doorbell. Note that the window I looked through was surrounded by a tall fence 4 or 5 feet away. So I felt perfectly safe, and I found it convenient later once I talked to him. He had a dark cap on and a blue jumper. It looked pretty normal to me, but we weren't expecting anyone on a quiet Sunday. I asked him what his business was, and he replied he was supposed to deliver a pizza to my address. Excited and a bit confused, thinking that my dad had secretly ordered pizza for us, I told him to wait while I got my dad. I climbed upstairs to my parents' room and saw my dad sleeping. I woke him up and asked him if he ordered pizza, and he replied in a daze that he didn't. Disappointed, I go back downstairs to break the news to the delivery guy, who probably got the wrong address. But when I got back to the window, he was gone. Since I was pretty young back then, I didn't think much of it until now. Today, I'm certain, and even my mom agrees when I told her this story a few years later, that I was almost kidnapped. Because, 1, it was quiet outside and I left my bedroom window open, but I didn't hear a motorcycle revving near the house, nor did I hear it when he left. 2, he left just like that, even though I specifically told him to wait. I didn't say that we didn't order pizza. 3, I didn't see a logo of the pizza place he was supposed to be working for. The strange thing was that we only had 2 that were near us, and they had a distinctive red color. And 4, I didn't see a motorcycle near him, which was extremely odd. My mom's theory was that the guy probably thought I was at home alone, because our single car was gone and my dad barely got out of the house, since he was unemployed back then. Well, probably got him to leave was that I told him to wait for me to get my dad. If not for my grandpa scolding me, I would have answered the door and probably not be here writing this for you guys.